to produce industries. Oil and gas and other natural resources will be nationalized. I need not emphasize the necessity of bringing the infrastructure under the control of the state. Transport will come into the hands of the people. At the same time, we do not possess to nationalize industries that are functioning competitively and whose control in private hands is not detrimental to the security of the state. Posts. I am not making tall promises to capture votes. Such radical changes have taken place in other countries, and inshallah they can take place in Pakistan as well. I am convinced that most of these profound changes can be made, but I am equally convinced that none of them can come about under the present economic and social structure. That is why it is imperative to reject the present system of capitalism and to replace it by Islamic socialism. Only by this indigenous system of our own will we be able to banish poverty. I am not the innovator of the concept of Islamic socialism. I am merely following the doctrines of the Qaid-e-Azam and of my conscience by preaching Islamic socialism with all the strength and power that I am capable of mustering. On the 26th of March 1948, the Qaid-e-Azam said, and I quote, "You are only voicing my sentiments and the sentiments of millions of Muslims when you say that Pakistan should be based on sure foundations of social justice and Islamic socialism, which emphasizes equality and brotherhood of man," unquote. The principal lieutenant of the Qaid and the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Liaquat Ali Khan, said on 25th August 1949, and I quote, "There are a number of isms being talked about nowadays, but we are convinced that for us there is only one ism, namely Islamic socialism, which in a nutshell means that every person in this land has equal rights to be provided with food, shelter, clothing, education, and medical facilities. Countries which cannot ensure these for their people can never progress. The economic program drawn up some 1,350 years back is still the best economic program for us. In fact, whatever system people may try out, they all ultimately return to Islamic socialism, by whatever name they may choose to call it," unquote. These are not the only utterances of our two great leaders on this subject. For want of time, I am unable to quote their other speeches on Islamic socialism. Nor do I have the time to quote Mr. Hussain Shaheed Sohrawardi, our popularly elected Prime Minister, who is also on record in endorsing Islamic socialism. Islamic socialism is not alien to Islam. It is not in conflict with our beliefs. If British parliamentary democracy is not in conflict with Islam, I fail to understand how the values of equality and brotherhood which Islam gave to the world can be opposed to Islam. Islamic socialism means that we will have a socialist economy according to our conditions, covered by our own heritage, flowering from our own traditions, and in conformity with our values and ideology. Only this kind of economic structure can provide equal opportunities for all, protect the citizens from exploitation, and remove the barriers between the privileged classes and the exploited classes. Socialism is of direct interest to Pakistan, an underdeveloped country marked by internal and external exploitation. The roots of socialism lie deep in a profoundly ethical view of life. We of the Pakistan People's Party earnestly maintain that the high ideals of Islam in relation to society can be attained only through a socialist system abolishing the exploitation of man by man. We believe that the nature of justice in the world demanded by our religion is inherent in the conception of a classless society. In this, Islam differs fundamentally from other religions. Islam recognizes no castes. Capitalist society has a class structure which is opposed to the equality and brotherhood enjoined upon Muslims by Islam. When we call our economic program Islamic socialism, we are perfectly within our rights and also within the moral traditions of Islam. In the name of justice, the Pakistan People's Party spells out Islam in concrete terms of fraternity and friendship. But our opponents, the self-appointed monopolists of Islam, condemn it in the name of socialism. Their manifestos, however, use the same language and the same words without calling it socialism. This only shows how they are desperately seeking to double-cross the people. Such people stand condemned by their own contradictions. The real reason for the spiritual trepidation of big business and its hirelings is the prospect of nationalization of industries and banks. Although at present we envisage only the nationalization of heavy industries and other connected industries, and not those that can work efficiently under competitive conditions, nevertheless, because we start from the premise that the possession of the means of production in private hands is the cause of the exploitation of the workers and the masses, a powerful conspiracy of vested interests has been hatched against the Pakistan People's Party. We are not afraid of this conspiracy. We are confident that with the support of the people we will destroy it. Once far-reaching internal changes are brought into being and the economy of Pakistan harnessed on an egalitarian pattern, we will be able to establish internal tranquility. The acquisition of this new strength will enable us to complete our mission. Pakistan without Kashmir is like a body without a head. The ideology of Pakistan that is being now insidiously exploited by all and sundry, including those who opposed Pakistan, will find its logical articulation from our party in its drive for the liberation of Jammu and Kashmir. The people of Kashmir cannot be held in bondage forever. It is my firm belief that a strong and vigorous Pakistan will be able to gather sufficient internal and external strength to redeem its pledge to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The foreign policy of Pakistan will find new dimensions by the change in the internal conditions. Once this nation of 130 million people is freed from the burden of exploitation, it will be able to defend a genuinely independent foreign policy. We often talk of an independent foreign policy as if that were possible to implement isolated from its requisite condition, an internal policy free from foreign interference. You must remember that I have been for years the uncompromising champion of an independent foreign policy, its exponent and practitioner when I was in government, and its persistent advocate after leaving office. There is no political party so committed as the Pakistan People's Party to pursuing a foreign policy fashioned to serve our vital national interests. I have said repeatedly in public, giving all the cogent reasons, that we should break away from the entanglements of great power politics. Knowing my own attitude, and that I speak on behalf of my party in this matter, you should accept my assurance that when my party comes to power, it will fulfill without delay the foreign policy objectives of our nation, never letting Pakistan to get inveigled into imperialist clutches, never permitting Pakistan to forsake its commitments to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, never allowing Pakistan to deviate from the path of Asia, never making it possible for the voice of our people to get silenced on the questions of colonialism and external domination. Such fundamental internal and external changes will release Pakistan from the strain of a perpetual crisis. It will enable the two parts of the country to remain united. I warn you, fellow citizens, that if we do not turn quickly in this direction, which means that if we do not undertake revolutionary economic changes, we will soon reach a point where it will not be possible to combat foreign intrigues aimed at Pakistan's disintegration. Ladies and gentlemen, and my young friends, in my youth I gave the better part of my life in the service of my people. This has been so in the making of our foreign policy, in the great confrontation against India, and in the people's struggle against dictatorship. Now, after passing through many a vicissitude, I see ahead of me another colossal challenge. We stand at the crossroads. We have to rekindle a sense of purpose. We have to embark on the task of reconstruction and reconciliation. I believe that I have a part to play in the fulfillment of Pakistan's purpose. In playing this part, please believe me that I shall always remain with the people, and never for a moment will I compromise their cause. My countrymen, my friends, my brothers and sisters, I make this pledge to you solemnly as a Muslim and as a Pakistani. Pakistan Zindabad.